Welcome, listeners, to the Privacy Report. You know, if we look at our digital lives in 2025, it's pretty clear that everything, and I mean everything, revolves around credentials.
It's just a fact of life now.
Exactly. And password managers, or PMs, they've gone from being this niche tool for techies to something that's just an essential part of the security stack for almost everyone. They promise convenience and, critically, security.
But that's the key word, right? Promise.
It is, because recent high-profile incidents are forcing us to take a much harder look at whether that promise of security really holds up. So our mission today is to unpack that. We're going to get into where these tools succeed, where their basic design creates, unavoidable risk, and how you can actually verify trust beyond just the marketing copy.
And that really starts with what I see as the core paradox of any password manager. On one hand, they are, without a doubt, vastly safer than the alternative.
Which is reusing password 123 everywhere.
Exactly. Reusing credentials, using weak passwords, all of that. But the moment you put all of your digital keys in one basket, you've just created the single most valuable target in your entire digital world.
It's the ultimate single point of failure.
It is. And just before we really get into the weeds, a quick reminder that you can subscribe to our email newsletter for even more analysis like this at theprivacyreport.net.
Okay, so let's unpack that centralization risk. If we all agree that PMs are basically necessary now, what's the immediate threat? Just from putting everything in one place, even before we talk about a provider messing up.
Well, the risk is catastrophic failure. It's really an all-or-nothing game. If an attacker gets past that one single perimeter, your master password, your main authentication,
It's game over.
instantly. The entire collection of credentials is just gone. And recovering from that is, it's an absolute nightmare.
And what's, I think, both fascinating and a little scary is seeing how attackers have evolved specifically to go after this weak point. They're not just waiting for a big data breach anymore.
No, they're targeting the user directly. We've seen these incredibly sophisticated phishing kits designed just to steal master passwords.
These aren't the old clumsy emails we used to see.
Not at all.
Well-
We're talking about high-fidelity, perfect copies of the login pages for popular password managers. They look and feel exactly right, and they're designed to trick you into giving up that master key.
And it's not just phishing, right? I've seen reports about browser integration attacks.
Yeah, that's another huge vector. They're constantly poking at the connection between the Vault extension and your browser session, trying to find a way to trick it into injecting credentials where it shouldn't.
Which means, it's not enough to just have good security habits yourself. You're also placing a massive amount of trust in the provider you choose. We've seen some big names have some really embarrassing incidents.
That's right. The LastPass breach is a perfect example of why this scrutiny is so important. It showed that even if your data is supposedly encrypted, failures in the company's own security can lead to encrypted vaults being stolen.
And that forces you, the user, to really question the vendor's whole security design.
It does. It proves that not all PMs are created with the same level of, let's say, defensive maturity.
So that brings us to the really critical question for anyone listening. How do you actually choose one? How do you get past the slick marketing and look for real, verifiable security signals?
You have to focus on what actually matters, not just the bells and whistles.
Forget dark mode for a minute.
Exactly. The first key signal is what I'd call audit transparency and incident response. A vendor shouldn't just say they're secure. They need to prove it with recent, thorough, third-party security audits.
And the key part there is third party.
Yes, and that the findings are public. You should be able to see the report, what they looked for, and what they fixed.
Okay, but what about when something does go wrong? Is a breach an automatic red flag? Should you just jump ship?
Not necessarily. I'd argue the bigger red flag is how they handle it. I actually have more trust in a provider that publishes a detailed, transparent post-mortem.
So they admit what went wrong.
They explain what happened, how they're fixing it, and what they learned. That kind of honesty, even about failure, tells you a lot more about their long-term trustworthiness than a company that just stays silent.
Transparency really is trust. Okay, let's get to the core of it, the technical protection. You mentioned client-side and zero knowledge. Can you break that down?
Of course, this is the second signal, encryption details. What you're looking for, the gold standard, is a client-side, zero-knowledge design.
Okay, two terms there, client-side.
Client-side means all the encryption and decryption happens locally, on your device, your phone, your computer, before anything is ever sent to the vendor's servers.
And zero knowledge.
That's the real assurance. It means the vendor holds no key, no secret, nothing that could be used to decrypt your vault. They don't know your master password. They can't recover it for you. They physically cannot access your data.
So if a company doesn't use a zero-knowledge model, what's happening behind the scenes?
It means that at some point, your unencrypted data is being processed on their servers. Or they have some kind of backdoor or recovery key. You're basically just trusting them not to look.
So it's the difference between we promise not to look and we physically cannot look.
Exactly. It's the difference between a promise and a mathematical guarantee.
That feels like it should be a non-negotiable feature for everyone. What about the privacy of the tool itself, the, background chatter?
That's the third signal, telemetry and open source. You need to look at what data the app is collecting. Crash logs, analytics, usage data, all that stuff.
And can you turn it off?
That's the crucial question. Can you disable it completely? Because if you can't, you're trading a piece of your privacy for convenience. That data can reveal a lot about how, when, and where you use the service.
And the open source question? We hear all the time that open source is more secure, but it's not that simple, is it?
No, it's an enabler of security, not a guarantee.
No?
Open source is valuable because it allows anyone to look at the code and verify the vendor's claims, to check for backdoors.
So more eyes on the code.
Right. But the security still depends on a healthy ecosystem around that code. Is it being actively maintained? Are people actually auditing it? A dead open source project can be far more dangerous than a well-maintained, frequently audited closed source one.
This is where it gets really interesting for me, because once you have those three signals, you can start looking at the market and realize that different tools are built for totally different people, for different threat models.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it really comes down to how much risk you're willing to accept versus how much convenience you need. The biggest factor is infrastructure. Are you using their cloud or are you handling it yourself?
Okay, so let's say I'm comparing a few of the top PMs. What should be on my checklist?
You're comparing three things. The encryption model we just talked about, the sync method, so cloud, local, or self-hosted, and the telemetry policy. Let's use a few examples to show the different philosophies.
Perfect.
Okay, so first you have something like Bitwarden. It's very popular in the open source community, uses strong end-to-end encryption, but its standout feature is that it's very friendly to self-hosting.
Meaning I can run it on my own server in my basement if I want to.
Exactly. You can completely cut the vendor out of the data syncing process. Maximal control.
But, let's be realistic. For the average person, setting up and securing your own server is a huge, complicated task. You could easily introduce new risks.
Absolutely. You're transferring all of that infrastructure risk from the vendor directly onto yourself. So then you have another model, like 1Password.
A very popular, polished option.
Right. They're known for balancing really strong security, robust audits, and a great user experience. It's cloud synced, so you are trusting their infrastructure completely, but they invest heavily in their zero-knowledge design and regular audits to earn that trust.
So that's for someone who wants convenience but is willing to trust a big, well-audited company to handle the back end.
Precisely. And then you have the third philosophy, for the user who wants maximum control and trusts no one.
The most paranoid among us.
That's where a tool like KeePassXC comes in. It is designed from the ground up to be fully local and open source. Your vault is just a database file on your computer.
So there's no cloud sync at all unless I set it up myself using something like Dropbox.
Right. There's no vendor server to be breached because your data never leaves your device by default. It completely eliminates that class of risk. The trade-off is, of course, convenience. It's much more manual.
That really clarifies the different threat models. But okay, even if you pick the perfect tool, the user is still the biggest variable in the equation.
Oh, massively. The vault is only as strong as the person holding the master key.
It's such a crucial point. You can't just set it and forget it. You have to treat that login like the keys to your entire kingdom. So what are the absolute must-do steps to reduce risk?
There are 4 things that I would consider non-negotiable. First, your master password has to be a long, unique, complex passphrase, not just a password.
Something you've never used anywhere else.
Never. Because all the common attacks, credential stuffing, brute forcing, they go after weak master passwords first. It's the path of least resistance.
So the perimeter has to be rock solid. What's number 2?
Second, you need to upgrade your multi-factor authentication, your MFA, for the Vault login itself. And I don't just mean SMS codes.
Please, no SMS codes.
No. Ideally, move beyond app-based codes too. The best practice is a hardware-based MFA key, like a FIDO2 key, a YubiKey, for example.
Why is that so much better?
Because they're phishing resistant. Even if you get tricked and type your master password into a fake site, the login will fail because the hardware key requires your physical presence to approve it. It breaks the attack chain.
Okay, what's third?
Third is to be very careful with convenience features, especially browser autofill. I would recommend disabling it where you can.
But that's the whole point of a PM for many people.
I know, but it's also a major attack vector. Injecting credentials should be a deliberate manual click whenever possible, not automatic. Manual is safer.
Manual is safer than magic. Got it. And fourth.
Fourth is just good operational hygiene. Regularly export an encrypted backup of your vault and store it somewhere safe and offline. If the company goes out of business, if you get locked out, that backup is your only lifeline.
You brought up MFA, which leads to a question I see all the time. Is it okay to store your 2FA codes, your TOTP codes, inside the same password vault as the passwords they're protecting?
Ah, yes, the ultimate trade-off between convenience and security.
It's so easy. The manager just fills in both fields for you.
It is incredibly convenient.
But
It completely undermines the principle of compartmentalization. It kills the idea of having a separate factor. If an attacker gets into your vault, they now have both the password and the second factor for all your critical accounts.
so they can just walk right in.
The stronger model is separation of risk. Use a hardware key, or at the very least, a totally separate authenticator app on your phone that isn't connected to your vault. It creates another barrier an attacker has to break through. It's a layer of defense you give up for that convenience.
So as we wrap this up, what's the big picture here? It feels like password managers give you this incredible security boost on one hand,
Unparalleled compared to not using one.
but that convenience comes with this huge centralized risk that demands you really scrutinize the vendor, their design, their audit history.
The key takeaway for you, the listener, is really clear. First, choose a manager that actually aligns with your personal risk profile. Are you a self-hoster or a cloud truster? Second, upgrade your Vault login to use a hardware MFA key today. And third, take an honest look at your setup and ask yourself where you are currently sacrificing security for a little bit of convenience.
And maybe a final thought to leave everyone with, building on that last point. Think really hard about that 2FA trade-off. Is the incredible strength of your master passphrase and hardware key enough to make up for the risk of storing your 2FA codes in the same vault? Or are you leaving a critical door unlocked for the sake of convenience? We encourage you to like and subscribe to the Privacy Report wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much for tuning in.
And a quick note that this discussion was made with the assistance of AI.